Hi, my name is Emily. I live in a small town in the United States, surrounded by tall trees and fields where the grass grows wild and free. I have always been interested in people, in how they think, how they feel, and how they connect to one another. Today, I want to share with you a story about something very important to humanity. This story will take you on a journey through the hearts and minds of people, how kindness, love, and understanding can change the world. I remember when I was younger, I loved playing in the park. There was a boy named Jack who used to visit the park too. He was always a little quieter than the other kids, keeping to himself. I noticed he would watch us, but he rarely joined in. One day, I saw him sitting alone, looking sad. I had a choice. I could continue playing with my friends, or I could go sit next to Jack. Without thinking too much, I went over and sat beside him. We didn't talk at first, but just sitting there, I could feel a connection. Eventually, Jack looked at me and smiled a small, shy smile, but it was a start. Over time, we became close friends, and I learned that Jack had been feeling left out because he was new to the town. That day, something clicked inside me. I realized how important it is to reach out to people, even when you don't know what to say. One of the most beautiful things about humanity is that we have the power to change someone's day with just a smile or a kind word. It doesn't take much to make a difference. In fact, sometimes it's the smallest gestures that mean the most. I always try to remember that people might be going through something hard, even if they don't show it. Just like Jack, many people are waiting for someone to notice them, to show them kindness. Years later, when I was in high school, I met another person who taught me an important lesson about humanity. Her name was Sarah. Sarah was the kind of girl who always had a lot of energy. She would dance through the hallways, laugh loudly, and talk to everyone. But what many people didn't know was that Sarah's life at home wasn't easy. Her parents fought a lot, and she often felt like she had to pretend to be happy so no one would worry about her. One day, after class, Sarah and I were sitting on the steps outside the school. She suddenly got quiet, and I could see that something was bothering her. I didn't know what to say, but I just sat there, listening. After a while, Sarah started to talk. She told me about her struggles at home, about how hard it was to always put on a happy face. As she spoke, I realized that sometimes the best way to show humanity is simply to listen. People need to feel heard, to know that their feelings matter. Listening is one of the greatest acts of love we can offer. There is a special kind of connection between people when they truly understand one another. It's like the walls that separate us come down, and for a moment, we are not alone in the world. I experienced this with my friend Michael. We had known each other since we were kids, and one summer we both went through difficult times. My parents were getting a divorce, and Michael's grandfather had passed away. We would go for long walks together, not saying much, but just being there for each other. One evening, we sat by the river as the sun began to set. The sky was painted in soft pinks and oranges, and the world felt quiet. Michael turned to me and said, "It's strange, isn't it? How life can be so beautiful and so painful at the same time." I nodded, feeling the weight of his words. In that moment, we both understood that life is full of ups and downs, but it's the people we share it with that make it bearable. Humanity is about these moments of connection, about being there for one another, even when words aren't enough. Sometimes, just being present is all someone needs. Michael and I never needed to talk much about our problems after that. We knew we had each other, and that was enough. One of the things I've learned over the years is that humanity is not always easy. There are times when people hurt each other, when misunderstandings happen, and when kindness feels hard to give. But I also believe that these are the moments when humanity is most important. I remember a time when I had an argument with my best friend, Lily. We had been close since we were little, but one day we had a big disagreement. I was upset, and so was she. We stopped talking for a few weeks, and I felt a deep sadness. It was like a piece of my heart was missing. Eventually, I realized that holding on to anger wasn't helping either of us. I decided to reach out to Lily. We met at our favorite cafe, and as we sat there, I told her how much our friendship meant to me. Lily looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "I've missed you so much." In that moment, I understood that forgiveness is a big part of humanity. We all make mistakes, but what matters is that we try to make things right. As I look back on these memories, I realize that humanity is not just about the big, heroic acts we see in movies or read about in history books. It's in the everyday moments, in the small choices we make to be kind, to listen, to forgive, and to love. I think about my mom, who always made sure to pack an extra sandwich for the kid in my class who didn't have lunch. Or my neighbor, Mr. Thompson, who would mow the lawn for the elderly lady next door, even though she never asked him to. These acts of kindness might seem small, but they are the threads that weave together the fabric of humanity. Another important lesson I've learned is that humanity is about understanding that we are all different, yet we are all the same in many ways. We may come from different backgrounds, speak different languages, or have different beliefs, but at the core, we all want to be loved, to be understood, and to belong. In college, I met a girl named Maria. She had moved to the United States from a small village in Mexico. Maria struggled with her English, and at first she felt out of place. But as we got to know each other, I saw how brave she was to leave her home and start a new life in a country where everything was unfamiliar. One day, Maria invited me to her home for dinner. Her family was warm and welcoming, and even though I didn't speak much Spanish, we found ways to communicate through smiles and gestures. That night, I realized that humanity transcends language. It's about the heart, about the desire to connect and share our lives with one another. As I sit here, thinking about all these moments, I feel a deep sense of gratitude for the people I have met along the way. Each of them has taught me something valuable about what it means to be human. One of my favorite memories is of a snowy day last winter. I was walking home from the store when I saw an elderly man struggling to shovel the snow from his driveway. I could see the exhaustion on his face, and without thinking, I walked over and asked if I could help. At first he hesitated, but then he smiled and handed me the shovel. We worked side by side in the cold, our breath forming little clouds in the air. When we were done, the man thanked me and told me that he had been worried about how he would finish the job. I felt a warmth inside, knowing that I had made his day a little easier. That's the thing about humanity. It doesn't take much to make a big difference. As the years have gone by, I have come to realize that humanity is about more than just kindness to others. It's also about being kind to yourself. There was a time when I was going through a rough patch, feeling lost and unsure of my future. I kept pushing myself, thinking I had to be strong and keep going no matter what. But eventually, I learned that it's okay to take a step back, to ask for help, and to give yourself time to heal.